Coming up, Filipino Tzu Chi volunteers conduct disaster surveys for areas affected by tropical storm Fung-Wong. We find out more on the autumn equinox and how to keep healthy during this cooler solar term. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. Tropical storm Fung-Wong brought widespread flooding, heavy rains, and high winds to the Philippines last week. Tzu Chi volunteers soon mobilized to carry out disaster assessments and distributions in Metro Manila, including Quezon City, San Juan City, and Marikina City. Inside the kitchen, volunteers work non-stop to prepare rice porridge for typhoon survivors.
We went to Tatalon Elementary School. We found out there are 400 families. So now our kitchen is cooking food for about 500 people. Plus, we're preparing relief goods for 400 families.
After Tropical Storm Fung-Wong swept across the Philippines, all that remained was damage and devastation. As displaced residents seek temporary shelter at Tatalon Elementary School in Quezon City, volunteers arrived with rice porridge to ease their hunger. However, many were still anxious about their future. We have been here for 3 days because our home is still submerged in water. It's very cramped here because there are a lot of people. We have 50 people crammed in this area.
Our home is flooded. We had to wade through flood waters in the heavy rain to get here. I also have difficulty breathing.
To help, volunteers brought mattresses, toiletries, clothing, and other daily necessities to address the residents' needs. Suffering the same fate are the residents of San Juan City. We experience flooding here annually, so I come here every year to receive aid. God always delivers His blessings to us through Tzu Chi. Volunteers of the Tzu Chi Philippines chapter separate into 7 teams to conduct disaster assessments. While surveying the disaster area, volunteers received some heartbreaking news.
He was a Tzu Chi member. I never knew there would be a corpse here. He was 59 years old. He drowned while trying to escape to safety. This is his son. Our hearts go out to him.
向亡者祝福，三位信，连信。
Paying their respects to the deceased and delivering consolation cash to the family of the deceased, volunteers will continue to accompany these survivors in the coming days. 2 years ago, Tzu Chi volunteers launched an aid distribution program in Selincing village, north of Jakarta, Indonesia, to assist the poor and needy. Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers returned to Selincing village to carry out a rice distribution. Among the recipients was a single mother named Jasmine, who says the rice she received will sustain her family for 2 months. My job is to wash clothes. I earn about $33 per month. If I am short on cash, I'll borrow money from my neighbors and return the money after I get paid.
This small yet dilapidated shack is where single-parent Justine and her 2 children call home.
I admire her dedication to provide education for her children. When she is sick, she just has guasa and heads off to work the next day. In order to feed her family, she cannot afford to have time off.
Although living in harsh conditions, the family of 3 never gave up hope for the future. Indonesia Tzu Chi volunteers arrived in Cilincing, north of Jakarta, to carry out a rice distribution, with Justine one of the recipients.
I am really grateful. I'm happy to have received this rice. It lessens my burden and increases the amount of rice at home. It is enough to sustain us for 2 months.
Tzu Chi volunteers and Tzu Qings arrived in Cilincing a week earlier. They passed out over 2,000 rice vouchers as part of their effort to carry out regular distributions. In fact, the Tzu Chi Indonesia chapter initiated a distribution program here 2 years ago. Over time, local residents have formed a good relationship with Tzu Chi. On the day of rice distribution, residents patiently waited in line under the scorching sun.
Our mission and objective at Tzu Chi is to bridge the gap between people and help one another. As a result, we can work with local residents everywhere.
In addition to the police and soldiers standing on guard, Summarakun Akun also dispatched volunteers to provide help for the distribution.
The 1991 earthquake brought death and destruction to Taiwan. In its aftermath, however, there was a significant uptick in the number of volunteers around the nation. The reasons were many. Some realized fame and fortune are fleeting and meaningless in the face of a disaster and decided to live life meaningfully. Some volunteered to cope with the drama of the quake, and some joined to reciprocate the aid they had received.
Even in a simulation, one can see how disorienting a 7.0 magnitude tremor can be. Zhong Lilin lost her beloved aunt in the 7.3 magnitude 921 earthquake.
It was anxiety at first, then I began to panic and eventually became depressed. Through volunteering, my life became more interesting. There is always a sense of fulfillment.
After having survived the disaster, more and more people found themselves wanting to contribute to a higher cause.
You have to live in the moment and live every day to the fullest. I want to share all the love I have inside.
On weekends, Wang Yuxian has her children help her sort the family's recyclables and then deliver them to Tzu Chi's Caochun liaison office. Since they were in her womb, Wang's children had been taking in Tzu Chi's humanity. When 921 struck, Wang and her husband's new home in Zongliao collapsed, forcing the couple to move into a DaAi home.
After coming in contact with Tzu Chi, it just holds on to you like a suction cap.
At first, she resisted joining Tzu Chi, but Wang eventually embraced its teachings, a choice that would go on to influence her two daughters as well.
I truly believe that as we carry out Tzu Chi's work and as they follow along after us, they will never deviate from the right path.
The couple wants their daughters to carry on the baton because of the love that was offered after the disaster. Dongsi, Taichung was among the hardest hit areas. It was there that Tzu Chi immediately established a service center. For many survivors, their first sip of water and first hot meal following the disaster came from Tzu Chi.
That first bite just made us feel warm all over. There was such a sense of satisfaction, so after I finished my meal, I was inspired.
Hong lost her brother-in-law and nephew while her neighbor Huang Sumei lost her elder brother.
So many people died. I really don't want to remember that scene again. Later, Sister Yao and the rest of volunteers came to help me. So I thought, if I could, one day I will be the one to help others.
So the two neighbors decided to join Tzu Chi, which inspired another neighbor, Zan Ajin, to follow suit.
Even though I was unwell, I wanted to help out at the DaAi homes. It brought me great satisfaction. You have to look for your own work there.
Zan's standalone unit collapsed during the quake, but fortunately her family was fine. Now 85 years old, she still makes handicrafts to give to others. There are many bodhisattvas like her from Dongsi.
The number of our volunteers increased by over 2/3. Many of them said, we ate only one of your lunch boxes and then felt inseparable from Tzu Chi.
Though the quake brought death and destruction, it also brought inspiration as many decided to live their lives in a more meaningful way by volunteering.
We now meet Chao Chunjiu from Guangdong, China, who was left paralyzed from the waist down after a wall collapsed on top of her when she was just 21. However, since meeting Tzu Chi, her life has taken a turn for the better, which has in turn inspired her to join Tzu Chi's ranks.
Cao Chunzhou is just like the belladonna lily. The wheelchair serves as her legs.
It was difficult to get used to in the beginning, but I got the hang of it eventually.
It was her unwavering perseverance and determination that an insurance company decided to make a one-time exception.
We don't hire people with disabilities under any circumstances. Although we turned her down, she was adamant to prove herself to us through her professionalism.
In 2008, the then 21-year-old Cao was left paralyzed from the waist down after a wall fell on her. Not only did her fiancé leave her, she also soon grew apart from her family. Cao left home and arrived in Dongguan, alone and with no one to rely on. Local Taiwanese entrepreneurs extended their assistance and turned to Tzu Chi for help. The volunteers' long-term love and care gave Cao a renewed sense of courage to face her reality.
Wow, I can feel something in my legs. It's a tingly feeling, like ants crawling.
Determined to join the volunteer training program, with the doctor's permission, Cao was discharged early.
All the volunteers are so helpful and kind. Every time we travel together to attend a training seminar, they always help me get in and out of the van, and they do so with such a willing heart.
是谁被遮住了阳光，能打开另一扇窗？是谁挥着受伤的翅膀，也能越过海洋？是谁被蒙住了双眼，依然看得见
I have always aspired to contribute where I can. We should take it upon ourselves to help those in need. It's our duty and mission.
Cao takes part in Tzu Chi activities with passion and enthusiasm. The past 6 years have been a turning point in her life, where tears have turned to laughter and the bitter days are replaced by a brighter and better future.
你好，躺了半年，躺了
Qiufeng, the 16th solar term of the year, falls right around September 23rd, which is also known as the autumn equinox. For on this day, the length of day and night is roughly equivalent. Temperatures will become noticeably cooler after Qiufeng, so people should be properly dressed so they won't catch a cold.
In Taiwan, the fruit that represents autumn is persimmon. As the fruit ripens and turns reddish, it means temperatures are getting cooler as well.
To the north, a high-pressure cold front is building up, so after the autumn equinox, northeast seasonal winds will get stronger.
We don't want prolonged periods of rain, as an increase in humidity will lead to severe fruit drop.
An old Taiwanese saying goes, when persimmon ripens, fragrance will cry. It means as the temperature drops, those without a home will have to worry about finding suitable shelter.
The harvest period for persimmons happens to be in the 16th solar term, Qiufeng, which falls around September 23rd. On this day, the sun shines directly on the equator, and so the length of night and day is equal, hence the name autumn equinox.
During the spring and autumn equinox, a strange phenomenon occurs. The length of day and night will be nearly 12 hours each, so they will be nearly equal. After the autumn equinox, in the northern hemisphere, nights will become longer, while days will get shorter.
Thus, farmers need to cherish the daylight to tend to their crops. In Taiwan, late season rice has only begun to flower, so it needs plenty of water and nutrients.
During this period, you need to watch the soil very carefully. It has to be kept moist, not dry. An old saying goes, may the paths in a paddy be dry, but not the paddy. During this period, we will flood our paddies every 3 to 4 days, or more frequently.
In a month, the rice will be ready for harvest, so rice farmers pray no typhoons will get in their way.
An old Taiwanese saying goes, September typhoons are unpredictable. There will still be typhoons during this period, and they tend to be quite volatile.
As temperatures drop, people should get their long sleeves and winter coats ready.
As temperatures tend to fluctuate very quickly during this time, it is very easy to catch a cold. So people need to watch for cold fronts coming down from the north and be properly dressed.
As the weather gets cooler, we recommend that people should refrain from turning on their AC. Instead, make sure to have good ventilation to help discharge excess moisture.
To stay healthy, Chinese medicine doctors recommend drinking sesame paste or eating some mountain yam to protect mucous membranes. An herbal drink composed of lily bulb and glenia root will work too.
As temperatures fluctuate, people who have weaker respiratory systems or lungs should try lily bulbs. It helps stabilize the respiratory system and strengthens mucous membranes.
It is also important to strengthen one's own immune system by working out regularly. A healthy and strong body will always help keep diseases at bay.
According to Taiwan's Alzheimer's Disease Association, there are over 220,000 people suffering from dementia in the country. To help the majority of these sufferers who live at home, in recent years, Taiwan's Ministry of Health and Welfare has widely supported community adult daycare centers to help lessen the stress on family caregivers. In today's report, we see how adult daycare centers are helping patients alleviate their symptoms.
1、2、3。
About 13. The center has around 30 to 40 seniors, but one van can't hold that many patients at once, so we will outsource it. These patients haven't progressed too heavily in their condition. They are in the beginning to mid stages.
找寻妈妈，我们再过5分钟会到。
With the rise of an aging population, the numbers of those who suffer from dementia is also increasing. In taking care of dementia sufferers, family members often face an emotional battle as well as a physical one. This is why facilities like adult daycare centers is important. It's a resource for caregivers.
重要的一个支持照顾者的一个资源。
The adults who arrive earlier can chat with one another, or the rehab instructor will tell them what exercises they can start doing with the help of our staff or volunteers. After coming here for some time, seniors become friends with each other, and this place becomes more of a social center. One of the common symptoms of dementia is for patients to lose their sense of time and place, so we will use activities and games to minimize those traits, like what year, month, and date it is, or where they are today, and self-introductions.
那让大家呢都自我介绍一下，彼此认识一下对方。
北京人，哎，北京哎，哦，不错不错，字正腔圆。有妈妈哪边的人？我是南京人。
My father currently lives on his own. He suffers from dementia and got lost once when he left the house. After he showed signs of the disease, he was depressed. But now through interacting with others like him here at the center, the progression of his symptoms has lessened. The volunteers take good care of him here.
我们说长期照顾它其实是
Adult daycare is perfect for those seniors who have early stages of dementia, as we have experts to provide activities and lessen the progression of the disease. When the condition worsens, they might need 24-hour care, and that will be a different level of care and need. Care for seniors who suffer from dementia is really a continuous
它
process.
是一个不同阶段有不同照顾需求的一个照顾的一个连续体。
Prior to the establishment of the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School in Taiwan, faculty members had already set a goal of helping students develop a well-rounded character. Now, some 8 years later, the school has inspired many of its students to incorporate Tzu Chi's values into their lives after graduation. Next, we meet 2 graduates and take a look at how the school has helped them become better people.
These children in the picture are beaming because they just had a wonderful summer holiday thanks to the free summer camp organized by Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School alumna Wu Zhuwen and her classmates.
There are many valuable experiences we can learn from serving others. I think it can help us become more mature and think from another's perspective.
Wu Zhuwen is a recent graduate of the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School. Wu says her past experience in volunteering has enriched her life. Besides being a leader, Wu Zhuwen was also a very helpful person in class. Wu's mother says her daughter has learned many precious skills from serving others.
I think she has become more responsible. For instance, now she is more willing to learn.
I think when people see me, they can feel something unique about me, whether it is the way I think, speak, or even my gestures.
During her school year, Wu Zhuwen also visited abroad to expand her horizons. Now a fresh high school graduate, Wu hopes to spread the ideals she has learned far and wide.
Besides developing skills, I think it is important to spread the positive messages we have received to those around us.
Asking for teaching tips from her former teacher is Tainan Tzu Chi High School alumna Wang Ziming, who will soon become a special education teacher.
I think growing up with a brother that is visually impaired and the guidance she has received from the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School has helped her a lot.
给他非常非常多的帮助。
对小朋友也会比较有
I have become more empathetic towards others and more patient. Besides teaching students the skills they need to learn, I will make sure to accompany them and look after their emotional well-being as well.
Wang Ziming says her years of learning at the school not only helped her gain a clear picture of what a good teacher should be like, but also helped her become a more rounded person.
比较可以去容忍那种你觉得不合理。
Now, when I face something that is difficult to tolerate, I will try my best to work around it and complete my task.
By incorporating the ideals they have received from school into their lives, graduates of the Tainan Tzu Chi Senior High School will continue to inject a positive influence into society.
To celebrate Taiwan's Teachers' Day, which falls on September 28th, parents of the students of the kindergarten division of Tzu Chi Senior High School affiliated with Tzu Chi University held a tea serving ceremony. During the event, students served tea to teachers and presented them with cards made by their parents. We will leave you with these images at the end of the show. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.